Attorney General, Attorney General. Realm, Realm. Acquisition, Acquisition. Conviction, Conviction. Sentencing, Sentencing. Omnibus, Omnibus. Narrowly, Narrowly. Avert, Avert. Fiscal, Fiscal. Revision, Revision. Oversight, Oversight. Envelop, Envelop. Snarling, Snarling. Bitter, Bitter. Subfreezing, Subfreezing. Retreat, Retreat. Contract, Contract. What were the biggest stories of the year? There were lots this year. The war in Ukraine, the Democrats losing control of the House, the end of Roe v. Wade, Queen Elizabeth II's death, the Uvalde school shooting, the rise of RSV, and the slap at the Oscars come to mind. The year also saw lots of Trump news, such as investigations by the January 6 House panel and New York's Attorney General, as well as the FBI's search of Mar-a-Lago and Trump's 2024 presidential bid. In the business realm, it'd be inflation, RTO versus WFH, Elon Musk's Twitter acquisition, the Microsoft Activision deal, and former Theranos boss Elizabeth Holmes's conviction and sentencing. The House passed a $1.65 trillion omnibus spending bill, narrowly averting a government shutdown. The legislation funds the federal government for the full 2023 fiscal year. Included in the bill are military spending, aid for Ukraine, changes to the 1887 Electoral Count Act, revisions to the U.S. retirement system, a wider TikTok ban for government devices, and more FDA oversight of the cosmetics industry. The vote, 225 to 201, was the last act of the current Democratic-controlled Congress. Wild winter storm envelops U.S., snarling Christmas travel. Snow, bitter winds, and sub-freezing temperatures are set to continue through the weekend. China's sudden retreat from COVID-0 has been followed by more than 248 million Chinese contracting the deadly coronavirus this month alone, some 18% of the nation's population. On one day this week, almost 37 million people became infected, according to Beijing. Lift, Lift. Quarantine, Quarantine. Restriction, Restriction. Leap at the chance, Leap at the chance. Brace, Brace. Brutal, Brutal. Region, Region. Border, Border. Expel, Expel. Provisional, Provisional. Beijing plans to lift quarantine requirements on international arrivals early next month, taking one of its biggest steps to ease restrictions since the pandemic began, even as case numbers remain high. Chinese are rushing to exit the country as Beijing ends its zero COVID policy and opens its doors. Sales of air tickets out of China soared as people leapt at the chance to put the restrictions of zero COVID behind them, with Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Japan favorite travel choices. Buffalo braced Tuesday for more snow after a historic and brutal winter storm buried the region and left more than 24 people dead. Up to 2 more inches of snow was possible in parts of western New York through Tuesday, the National Weather Service said. Border program to expel migrants must remain in place, Supreme Court rules. The ruling is a provisional victory for 19 states led mostly by Republicans that had sought to keep the pandemic rule known as Title 42 in place.